The last thing we want to do is spend time beating our face, really looking good and feeling good, then having to put on a mask only to have to take it off and have 90% of it be on the mask. Like, who wants that? I don't want to waste my time doing that. For all that, I might as well have just applied the makeup to the mask, right? So I'm here today to kind of show you guys my little routine that I came up with that is pretty transfer resistant for the most part. I'm not going to say 100% because there are times where a little bit of makeup has come off and onto the mask has transferred, but it's not enough to make a big impact on the overall look. So in the event that you have to take your mask off, whether it's going out to eat or any other occasion, you can still feel confident in knowing that majority of your makeup is definitely gonna stay locked in place. So with all of that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you find some inspiration, or maybe take this and use it as your routine to just throw on a little bit of makeup just to look better and feel better. Not to say you don't look good without makeup, but you know, just for that little boost of confidence. If you're interested in this and you want to see how I, got this face but still able to wear a mask without it being transferred onto the mask, then definitely keep on watching. Alright you guys, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into things. I am starting with a clean face and I do have my skincare products on. You want to make sure that you're cleaning your face and you're also applying your SPF because it's very, very important. Even though we're going to be wearing a mask, you still need that SPF. Also, if you are fighting acne, you can use an antibacterial or antifungal cream. If you prefer, it will probably help with the prevention of the acne, but you also got to make sure you're washing your face when you take your mask off and before you put it on. Washing your face is important, as well as washing your mask. That's also important because you could wash your face, not wash your mask, and then keep putting that same mask on. It's not going to be beneficial and it's not going to be pretty. So since we've already moisturized and all of that, we can move on. Now the next thing I'm going to do is use some powder. I'm going to go back to the powder underneath the foundation technique. Although we're not using any foundation today, but that is pretty much the technique of using powder to mattify things and to help with longevity. But we're going to use this just to cancel out some of the shininess in the areas where I get oily. This is just the Dermablend loose setting powder. So I'm just going to take a small amount of this and I'm going to place this on my T-zone. I was going to say all over my face. And I'm just going to use a sponge to do this. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. My sponge is dry AF. But that's fine. If you want to go in with a damp sponge, do so. But I'm just going to go in with this dry Fenty sponge. And I'm just going to press this right here on my nose. If you guys are wondering why I'm looking this way, it's because my mirror is literally like right here. So, got to make sure I can see. But I'm going to press this in right here, my nose area. And I'm also going to take it along my chin and my T-zone. Now the mask on me, I have such a freaking small face that obviously the mask is meant to cover your nose. You need to make sure you're covering your nose when you're wearing a mask. That's the whole point of wearing it, not only to cover your mouth but your nose as well. But for me, it covers a lot of my nose and you don't want the makeup to rub off in that area, so this also helps with that as well. So tap tap tap. So as you guys can see, the powder is on, but you can't necessarily see the powder, which is a good thing. You don't want to see it. You just want it to matte out the oiliness that you had there before. And you guys seen I was very shiny, especially like in this area, and it's no longer because of the powder. Now we're going to move on to priming. For primer, I'm just going to go with a pore filling primer. I'm going to go ahead and use the Tatcha Silk Canvas. Now you can use the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. I'm just going to use this one because of the skincare benefits, but the Poreless Putty Primer works just the same. I'm only going to take a small amount of this and I'm going to rub this in my hands first before I apply it to the sides of my nose. This is basically where the pores are, and I'm just going to press and smooth this primer in. I kind of used a lot, but it's okay. This is one of my favorite pore filling primers. I do have another one, but I just want to target my pores. That's really all that I'm doing. You can use whatever primer that you choose to use. It's, you know, up to you what primer you want. But prime away, girl, prime away. That's the point. So now that we have the primer nice and set into the skin, honestly, I just set this area. I didn't set the outer part, but if you want to go in with the secondary primer to set the outer perimeter of your face or just another primer in general, you can definitely do that. Now we're going to move on to concealer. So I'm going to first start out with a concealer that's my skin tone, which is this one from Nars, and this is the Medium Dark 2 Caramel Concealer. This is definitely one of my darker concealers. So I'm just going to take this underneath my eyes just to kind of cancel out any darkness underneath there. If you wanted to, you could go in with a color corrector. If you really felt like, you know, the concealer doesn't do the trick for you, you could definitely do that. So I went underneath my eyes, and then now I'm just going to try and use this concealer just to cover any blemishes that I may have on my face or scarring from acne, just to kind of cover that stuff up. So I'm just going to place it in those areas. Just keep in mind the concealer is going to cover like dark spots and stuff, or it may color correct in a way for those kind of blemishes or red, you know, spots and stuff like that, but it's not going to cover texture at all. It's just not. So now that we have all of that there, I'm going to work on blending all of this out. And again, I'm taking a dry sponge, you guys. Don't hate me. Normally I would use a damp sponge, but this little e.l.f. sponge right here does the trick for me, even though it's dry. So I'm just using this just to tap all of this product in. Now that we have that on, see, we look already, we're starting to feel a little bit more prettier and put together and awake. Now I'm going to go in with a secondary concealer. This concealer is a little bit lighter than the one we just used. This is Praline, which is medium 3, which is weird because the medium 2 is darker. Weird. But anyways, so this is Praline, my little mini one. I'm still on it. Even though I use it so much, I'm just going to focus this on the inner corner of my eye, and that is literally it. I just want to provide a little bit of brightness underneath here because you are kind of on someone's face who's a little bit bigger than mine. I have a very small face, so not a lot of this shows when I'm wearing my mask, but in the event that you can see your under eyes, you do want that to look nice and awake. So this just helps with that. You don't really have to do it. You can just leave it at like this with the first concealer that we used, but I just like to be extra. So I'm going to let that sit under there for a couple of seconds, and then I'm going to work on blending it out with the same exact e.l.f. sponge. Now it's time to set the under eyes, and obviously you can go in with the same Dermablend powder or whatever powder you choose to put in the beginning, or you can use a different powder. I've actually pulled 2 other powders. The first one is a compact powder. This is the Stay Matte powder from Rimmel. Now I like this one for 2 reasons. Number 1, I do like it under my eyes. Not only does it help with the mattifying of the under eyes, but it also adds a little bit of brightness underneath there as well. And then the second one is a loose powder. This one is the Wet n Wild Photofocus powder. My love for this powder is on another level, and the reason why I love it mostly so much, especially for something like this, is because it does have that blurring effect, which I do enjoy. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of the Rimmel first and then use the Wet n Wild one underneath my eyes, but we're just going to keep this underneath the eyes and maybe like in the T-zone just a little bit, but nothing too crazy, not too much. You don't have to do 2 different powders. You can absolutely just go in with one. But you guys know I'm so freaking extra, so here I go with 2 different powders. As you guys can see, the look is just coming together before our eyes, and we haven't even used any type of foundation. which is great. Now, obviously, if you have more like scarring and stuff, or your face isn't as clear, you may want to go in a little bit, you know, with a little bit more product. This routine may not be good for you. I mean, it just all depends on your confidence level, but for me, this is good enough. Okay, so that's the Rimmel, and as you see, it just added a little bit of brightness. I did take it above my lip and on my chin. You can absolutely leave it like that, but like I said, I'm gonna go in with this one. I'm just gonna use a little bit of this, so just gonna actually take it from the cap, but I'm only gonna use this one underneath my eyes for real this time. Now for the main focus, it is here and up, but in the event that you have to take your mask off, so if you're like going out to eat or something, obviously you're gonna take your mask off, right? You don't want this to be like real glam and then down here be super bare. You could go in with a powder foundation, but I do not own a powder foundation in my collection that I'm aware of. So I'm actually going to use the Sephora Micro Smooth Powder. Not only does it blur, but it also has a little bit of color, enough to where I can put it all over my face and everything look cohesive. So I'm just going to take this BH Cosmetics brush. I'm going to dip my brush in there generously, kind of tap it off, and then I'm going to press and buff this into the skin. So this is just going to give us a universal coverage, you know, so everything looks nice and even and we're not looking crazy. We want the top to look, or the bottom to look as good as the top, if that makes sense. Not only that, but also it's lightweight, it's breathable, it's just powder. If you don't put too much on, you'll be all right. Foundation can just be too heavy, you know, and especially because it's so hot, the last thing you want to do is put foundation on. So this for me does the trick. So now we look like this, and you know, to me, I feel like it looks like I have makeup on, but not really. This is kind of like a no makeup look, but for a mask. So to me, this is perfect. Like, I'm already feeling good about myself. I feel a lot more put together, but I'm going to take it a little step further, and I am going to bronze. I'm going to put a little bit of blush on, and I'm also going to actually put highlight on. Now, all of these steps are optional. Any of these steps, honestly, are optional. But I'm just going to take a little bit of the Hoola Benefit bronzer, not because of any specific reason other than the fact that I just want a nice subtle bronzer, because you are going to typically see like a little bit of it in your mask, but I'm not going to put on too much. I don't want a bronzer helmet or anything. I can go crazy with bronzer sometimes, but I'm going to keep it really, really light and just add just a little bit because I want to. So now that that's done, I am going to move on to blush. So for blush, I'm going to use this Tarte Amazonian Clay blush. This is their 12-hour blush, so it's supposed to be a long wearing, which is great, right? When you're wearing a mask, you want something that's going to be long wearing and that won't easily rub off. So normally blush is like the first thing to go on your face, but this one is supposed to last a lot longer than your traditional blushes. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of this on just for a little flush of color. Like I said, in the event that you have to take off your mask, you look complete. And then for highlighter, I'm actually going to use this Kokie Soft Glow highlighter. This is a new one for me, and it's just like this nice golden highlight. And I know for a fact, for me personally, when I wear my mask, if I put my highlight right here, you're definitely going to see it, because if you see my eyes, you're going to see my highlight. So I'm going to apply a small amount of this right here. I'm just going to focus it right here and just kind of snatch that outer part of my eye, and just like a little bit right over here above the brow bone. So like that. You can definitely choose not to wear highlighter. I don't know if it's still a thing. I mean, for me, highlighter will always be a thing, but for some people, they just don't prefer it. But for me, I'm here for it. I am also going to put just a little bit on my nose, whatever's left on my brush, and just kind of run it in my usual areas, but you don't have to do all that. So that's highlighter. So now we have our base makeup complete. Now we can move on to the eyes. So for the eyes to conceal, I'm just going to take that same skin tone concealer. Just going to pop a little bit on my lids just to make everything easy. My choice for eyeshadow today is going to be the Morphe and Manny MUA Glam Palette. So it just looks like this. I did get this in my BoxyCharm box, the premium subscription box actually. So this just came in the mail and I really want to use it. So this is what we're going to use to create our eyeshadow look today. Now, this is the part you can have fun with because this is what everybody is going to see. Now, because my makeup is very, very minimal and at afar, it looks like I have like a full beat on almost, but honestly, in reality, some of my skin texture and stuff is still kind of peeking through, which I'm more than okay with. If you guys are not okay with that, then this routine probably is not for you because it's not giving you full on coverage. This is more so just to feel pretty and look pretty. So, not that you're not pretty without makeup. I'm not saying that at all, but you guys know what I'm trying to say here. So I'm just going to do kind of like a soft glam kind of eye. I'm not going to do anything too intense and I'm going to keep it matte. So what I want to do first is use Sophie and Fire Witch. So let me show you guys what shades those are. So Fire Witch is this one right here, which is kind of like peachy. And then Sophie is more like tan beige kind of color. So I'm just going to use both of those. And I'm going to put these shadows in my crease, but I'm also going to apply it on the outer corner. So as you guys can see, I'm starting off by stamping the shadows in the outer corner first. And then I will slowly blend upwards. So we just want something nice, soft, pretty for the eyes without being too much, you know? But definitely feel free to do whatever suits you. Whatever rocks your boat, sis, go ahead and do that. Don't get me wrong now. I have done like full glam looks and then had to go out somewhere and put a mask on. But when I tell you that stuff transfers, girl, it transfers. But you could do it if you want. Especially if you knew that you weren't going to take your mask off. But at the same time, would you really want to invest your time in like doing a whole beat face just to put a mask on? I wouldn't. Not for 90% of it to come off on my mask. I'm actually not loving this brush to blend out this shadow. It's not really blending it the way that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one from Lavish. This is the tapered blending brush. And I'm just going to take a little bit more Fire Witch, which is that peachy tone shade. Focus it on the outer part. It's just not giving me the blend that I wanted, and this one seems to be doing a better job of not only blending it out but also packing it on so that we have that pigment there. This is not the Morphe formula I'm used to, just being honest. Color is really pretty, but it's just really not that easy to blend. Alright, now we're going to move on to the next shadow. I'm going to take Boy Next Door, which is this tan shade right here, which is more like my skin tone kind of color. And I'm just going to pop that on the inner part of my lid. Kind of like a cut crease situation, but not really at the same time. So I'm not really taking the time out to like really carve it out with concealer or anything like that. I'm just literally just popping that on the front. So it kind of looks like I cut my crease with some concealer and left it. But really, I'm using this shadow. And I think this is a really nice, like, skin tone kind of color. I'm also going to take those two same colors and drag them on my lower lash line. Just so everything looks cohesive and as one. And we don't have just shadow sitting at the top. I always love to put something, even if it's just a little bit of something on my lower lash line. It just, for me, it just makes the eyeshadow look more complete. So you could definitely leave it like this. This is very soft, very pretty, very eye-catching, but not too much. or you can, you know, do tons more. The only thing more I'm going to do is just take this flat definer brush from Morphe and Jacqueline's collection, the JH43. I'm gonna grab a little bit of Howl, which is this dark brown right here, and I'm just gonna smudge that along the outer third, or the outer 1/3 of my upper lash line, if that makes sense. Just kind of like a smoky liner. And it just creates a little bit of definition out there and just defines the eyes a little bit better. If you wanted to, you can go in with a brown liner. I don't own any brown liner, so I'm just using eyeshadow, and I'm not necessarily winging it. I'm literally just using this liner brush to make my line, and using this one. This is the Morphe M506. You can also use the M507 to do the same thing and just help with smoking that out. So that's really it for the eyes. Now I'm just going to go ahead and coat my lashes with a little bit of mascara. This one is the L'Oreal Telescopic Mascara. It's just what was sitting in front of me, so that's what I'm using. I've actually been using this pretty much every day that I've been putting on makeup. I just love this mascara for my lashes. I fell in love with it again. I mean, I've always loved it, but I'm using it a ton now. So you could just pop on some mascara and call it a day, or you could put on some falsies. Your choice. So we are back. Lashes are on, and you can use any lash of your choice. I just went ahead and used the lashes in Spellbound by House of Lashes. I purchased these a long time ago actually, at Sephora. So I don't know if they still have these or not, but that's the style, just in case any of you guys are interested. But you can pop on whatever lashes you want. These give the right amount of dramaticness, but not being too dramatic or overly dramatic, not too fluffy. They look still pretty natural, and I really like them. It kind of gives like that false lash effect, like when you get your lashes actually done. And yeah, I just love it. And I just kind of just push up on these outer corners, that way they stick up a little bit more, and it just, I don't know, I love them. They are very pretty. Alright, so now we only have 2 more things to do. We have to set our face, obviously, and we have to do our lip. So before we do our lip, let's set our face. Let me move my hair out my face. Now, you guys know I rave about this stuff. And again, the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Setting Mist is key to making your makeup last and stay in place. So I'm going to spray a generous amount of this. Like generous. And then I'm going to use my fan to speed up the process. If you have a fan, definitely use it. If not, it's fine. It can just air dry on its own. There we go. And then I'm going to use my sponge and just press everything down. Just like I do when I do my normal makeup routine. Let's talk lip choices. Now, you want to steer away from anything that's glossy. So anything glossy, you know, is instantly going to come off once it rubs on your mask. So you want to make sure you stay away from that. I've been loving glosses for the summer, but when it comes to wearing a mask, I do not wear gloss because I know it's going to come off. You could use a matte liquid lipstick that you know is going to dry down, be matte, and not budge. You can use a regular lipstick, and you may or may not need to touch up. It just depends on your preference. You can use a chapstick, or you can even use a lip liner and just fill in your lips completely. And that definitely should not move. Now today I am going to go in with 2 different things. I'm going to use my chapstick first. This is actually the Blistex 5-Star Lip Protection, and it does have SPF 30 in it. So that's great because it's protecting my lips. And then on top of that, I'm just going to add a little bit of this Dose of Colors lipstick in Fudge. But I'm not going to like put an intense layer on my lips because I just want that nice sheer type of coverage for a little bit of color. I feel like you're either a Blistex person or a Carmex person. Me personally, I love me some Blistex, and I hate Carmex. I do not like the way it smells at all. And yeah, so I just prefer Blistex. I even like the one in the little pot, in the blue pot thing. They also have one that's tan, like in a tan one, and I think I got that before too. But any type of Blistex works for me, but this is great because it has that SPF in it. And then right on top, I'm just going to take a little bit of this fudge lipstick. I'm just popping a small amount on because, like I said, I want just like a nice sheer layer of coverage. I don't want it to be too dark. And then I'm just going to tap over it. So our look is now complete, and now it's time for the moment of truth. Get your mask. So this is mine. This one I got at Target. I have plenty of Target masks like this, and I have other ones that have been made for me, but we're just gonna go ahead and use this one. Now again, I do have a smaller face than most, so I'm just gonna push my bangs out the way, and I'm gonna put my mask on. And now that it's on, I'm talking, so you guys see this is pretty much everywhere that it covers. If my hair wasn't in my face, you'd see the highlight right here. I have highlight over here. You can kind of see a little bit in here. So, you know, we look good, right? And then we go ahead and we take off our mask. And as you guys can see, no makeup is on my mask. Now, obviously, I haven't been wearing it that long, but I was talking, as you guys heard, with the mask on and everything, and even my lip stayed on. So this to me has been the best way for me to do my makeup without worrying about 90% of it coming off and being on the mask. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video and learned a thing or two. This is what I do. You guys can take this routine, make it your own. You can do step by step what I did. But as you guys seen, and I proved to you guys, I'm not really getting much of anything on my mask. My mask is still clean. Now, although that is the case, you still want to make sure that when you're taking off your mask, you're making sure that you're cleaning it and you're cleansing your face, of course. I don't have anything else to say other than I love you, and I hope you guys are staying safe. Make sure you're wearing your mask, makeup or not, and I will catch you guys in the next one. I know I gotta keep my shawty on go. Got that ass to the floor. 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 Got that ass to the floor.